It's CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Delighted as always to be joined by Mr. Eddie Hearn. Eddie, did you know that Cornetto have brought out a Marmite flavour?
Oh,
I know.
revolting. What is going on there? That is not on. No.
Not something that will tickle your fancy, Eddie.
I can't stand Marmite. Never been a fan. How's parenthood treating you? Just heard a little something in the background there.
We just bathed her.
Are you changing nappies?
Yeah.
Are you? Fair play.
I'm getting up for every bottle in the night and all.
So during this interview, you might hear a few little.
You may do.
It's nice. You might get the same from me. Mine are obviously older, but I'm at home as well. So.
I know.
No, I think it adds to the authenticity.
Did you get up for bottles? Did you do all that?
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah. I think we've been through this, but you did, yeah.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Much to my old man's amusement.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a different era, isn't it? It's not what you did back then.
So your dad didn't do any of that with you or your sister?
No. I know. Great days.
Okay. You're fresh. We'll say fresh. You're fresh from...
Yeah, ish, yeah.
Trip from Miami, where, as expected, really, Canelo did a number on the Yield Rim. The fight with Billy Joe Saunders was finally announced. It was so close last year, but the fight has been announced now for the 8th of May. Venue-wise, I saw a post from your Instagram saying that that's very close to being announced. We saw Coppinger say yesterday that it's between Dallas and Las Vegas. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, the two front runners are the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas and the Dallas Cowboys, obviously in Dallas. A lot depends really on how many people we can get in. We were lucky enough to get 15,000 there in Miami. We had 12,000 in San Antonio. Texas have, of course, announced that they're going to completely open everything to 100%. Whether that translates into capacities at stadiums is still to be seen. But the feeling is that we could definitely get more people in Texas than we could in Vegas at the moment. But it's difficult because what is, the ruling now is very different to what the ruling will be by May the 8th. But we kind of need some kind of clarity in terms of a baseline number to make sure we can get as many people in as possible. But looking to make a decision really this week, to be honest with you, or, early next week to confirm the venue. But yeah, front runners, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, which would be fantastic to do, and the Dallas Cowboys.
Do you have a preference? Does Canelo have a preference of where they want this fight to take place?
No, I think everyone likes to go to Vegas, don't they? I think it's got a real big event feel, and there hasn't been a major fight in that stadium yet, so that would be pretty impressive. But I don't really want to go to the Allegiant Stadium and get 20% in there or 25% in there. So I think really more it's about making sure we know what the worst case scenarios are here. Maybe we'll be at 100% capacity at Dallas Cowboys. You can get 80, 90,000 in there. It'd be great. But Canelo's easy, I think. He's boxed Texas, Miami. So I guess Vegas would be great for him. Or the Dallas Cowboys is one of the best stadiums in the world. So either way, I think two great options.
Tell me why Billy Joe Saunders isn't just another opponent for Canelo. Why is this different?
Because I think on many reasons and many levels. I mean, one, I think he's very, very good. Two, I think he has the mindset to... I mean, the problem is being around the Canelo Alvarez experience in the last, two fights. It's quite intimidating. I mean, Yildirim was never good enough to beat Canelo Alvarez. Yildirim was beat before the first bell went. When you're standing there and, we had the walk-in that we had, and, it's like 6 or 7 minutes waiting in the ring, and you're seeing all these fireworks going off from the roof and everyone going nuts. You have to be a special kind of individual to produce a performance that's needed in that environment. I think Billy can do that. I think Billy, he's not going to be overruled. He's not going to be standing in the ring going, oh, wow, look at these fireworks. Oh, I'm not ready for this. This is his moment. And for the ups and downs of Billy Joe Saunders' career, it comes down to May the 8th. We've worked so hard to deliver it for him. We already delivered it for him last May. and he was unlucky with the pandemic. So to get it back scheduled in, I'm really happy. And I honestly feel like this is the toughest fight for Canelo Alvarez in the division. You know, Caleb Plant's a great champion as well, but Billy's got something different. Billy, I believe, can produce the best performances when his back's against the wall, when the pressure's on, when the fear's in. You know, really the best two performances of Billy's career have been Andy Lee and David Lemieux. And they're two fights that I think he probably, say fear's the right word, but felt like he could get beaten. When he doesn't feel like he could get beat, I think sometimes you just get a good Billy Joe Saunders. But to beat Canelo, you're going to have to produce that special performance at that special time. And I honestly believe that Billy's the kind of fighter that can produce a special performance in that kind of environment. But, you know, it's going to be tough. Canelo is outstanding. Every time I watch him, I think he's getting better and better and better. But Billy's got the opportunity of a lifetime. He's always said he believes he can beat him. And now's his chance.
The rematch clause situation in this fight is?
The rematch clause is to be discussed in good faith, really. Nothing locked in terms of, you know, requirements or obligations. So there's a general understanding that, you know, the biggest fight out there for Billy Joe Saunders, if he beat Canelo Alvarez, was to rematch Canelo straight away. But if he wins, he really controls his own destiny in that respect. And it's the biggest opportunity to beat the pound for pound number one. So, you know, everything's there for Billy. We've worked it out, and this is why he joined us. You know, this is why he signed with Matchroom, to make sure he could get the biggest fights in boxing. He's got it, and now the rest is over to him.
Ed, can I ask why that isn't cemented in the contract, that if Billy Joe wins, there is a... Just because I think sometimes it's too difficult to establish numbers, venues, where it's going to be, etc. So the last couple of fights with Canelo have been the same in that respect. In that, you know, it's just there is a rematch clause, but terms to be agreed. So, you know, that's a good position for Billy Joe Saunders to be in. Callum Smith had the same obligation. But it's kind of universally recognised that the biggest fight in boxing in around that weight class is Canelo Alvarez. So if Billy was to beat Canelo Alvarez, he would be in a fantastic position to negotiate his rematch. Seeing Billy Joe's attitude since the fight was announced is kind of a little bit weird. He's coming out saying that he's just happy to be there. He's going over there. Obviously, you're paying him basically to get knocked out over there and all these things. But that's just Billy being Billy. Yeah,
absolutely. I know that Billy's already in good shape because I know that Billy knows that, or knew that he was probably going to get this fight. And I go back to what I said earlier about Billy, which is when he knows he's up against it, he doesn't muck around. You know, he's not going to come into this fight in anything else than 110% condition. His weight is already much, much, much lower than it would be if he was normally, I mean, what have we got, 10 weeks, something like that? You know, normally Billy's camps are about making weight, right? Now this camp's not about making weight. He's still got to do it, but this is about beating Canelo Alvarez. So I think that Billy's Billy. I think the mind games are started. You know, I mean, I'm surprised I haven't had a call yet from Canelo or Eddie Reynoso saying, oh, I see in the scales, he's, I don't know what he said, it was 16 stone or something like that. So when you can look in his face, you know when Billy's out of shape, it's not hard to see. And he's training hard because it's the biggest moment of his career. And these are the kind of moments that turn you into a great. And that's what Billy Joe Saunders wants to be. So for all his immaturity, for all his messing around, for all his occasional foolishness, he wants this. He wants to win this fight. You know, and you know, and this is boxing's everything to him. And this is the golden chance, the one he's been looking for all his career to prove how good he says he is.
And I'm assuming this fight's going to really drive the zone subscribers in the UK come May the 8th as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, a huge fight all around the world, particularly in the UK. But the US, I mean, what we've seen from the Callum Smith and, you know, Canelo numbers. Did you get that, Claire? Did it turn on? The Canelo Alvarez numbers in America are incredible. You know, I think seeing the numbers that he generated against Callum Smith, seeing the numbers that he generated against Abner Yildirim. He's just the biggest draw out there by an absolute country mile. And the Billy Joe Saunders fight is a fight that people get genuinely excited about, because it's a fight that is competitive. It's a unification fight. It's one of the best fights in boxing. And it's part of his journey to try and become undisputed. So I'm excited for the fight. I'm excited for the build-up. It's a shame Billy couldn't get there, but he can't come back and quarantine and miss camp. So I want to get those guys together. And I want to get that fight on. And it's going to be a massive event. Massive event.
May the 8th. Can't wait. So we've heard some comments this week from Mr. Bob Arum and also some comments from Frank Warren in regards to AJ Fury, saying that pretty much everything's done apart from the venue. So your take on all this at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, Bob, kindly come out and gave a 45-minute interview when he said everyone should be quiet about it. That's Bob. To be honest with you, we're really waiting on their signatures now. I mean, the issue is that there's about 4 or 5 people that have got to sign their contract, and much fewer that have got to sign our contract. So we're in a good place. Everything seems to be agreed. Now the proof will be in the pudding. When those parties sign the contract, we're ready to sign the contract. We've said to them, go around and get all your signatures, because there's so many of them, and we're ready. We sign the contract immediately when we have those, and the fight's up and running. But as of yet, there is no deal, because they haven't put pen to paper and they haven't sent us all their signatures yet. But I believe that is inevitable, and when it happens, I'll let you know as soon as possible.
So who hasn't signed it from your side?
No, they've got like 4 or 5 people to sign it. So we said, go and get the signatures, and from our side, it's us. So we know the situation. Obviously, it's Anthony Joshua, 258 management, who are not signing, but AJ and Matron. So we're ready. We're ready to sign that contract. And again, it's not sign the contract. I just think it's the natural process of getting Tyson Fury, getting Bob Arum, getting Frank Warren, getting MTK, like whoever's got to sign a contract on the different time zones to get that over the line. But this is where it gets interesting, because we're there. So off you go, pen to paper, let's crack on. And when you talk about the venue, that is starting to move, because we're in a position time-wise where we're back to move. So those conversations, and your next question is, where is it going to be? And the answer to the question is, it's still wide open, but we are much further down the line than we were a week ago, because we've had to speed that process up.
Is the specific date in the contract?
No, ultimately that will be dependent on the broadcasters, but also the site. If someone comes in with a huge site fee, they're going to want to make sure that's of importance or relevance to them. We're still gunning for the end of June.
Can you not give me one of 3 venues? Or no, give me 3 venues that it will take place.
I mean, I can give you, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, China, London, Las Vegas. I think so. I mean, look, if we're talking about June, it's difficult, because can you sit there with any real confidence and say that we're going to be allowed 100,000 people in June in Wembley? No. You've answered the question. So I don't like to give people false hopes. I saw Bob's interview yesterday. Yeah, Wembley's an option. Vegas is. I don't believe that. I don't believe it is. Because they all talk about, it's going to be great if we could do that for the fans. Do you honestly think Bob Arum gives a monkeys about the UK fans? I mean, come on. You've seen his comments about his fighters lately. So ultimately, they're going to say to us, where can we generate the most money to hold this fight? Let's not beat around the bush. Right? And ultimately, it's going to be up to AJ and Tyson Fury to say, yeah, we're happy with that venue. If you asked everybody where myself, and I'm sure Frank Warren, and I'm sure Tyson Fury, and I'm sure Anthony Joshua would like to do this fight, it's Wembley. Of course it is. But it doesn't, one, I don't think that's possible. And 2, we can't ignore the fact this is the biggest fight in boxing. It's going to generate so much interest, so much money, that we can't just ignore that fact. So those talks are escalating now at pace. And again, we await the signed signatures from all those parties, and we're ready to go.
Okay. Right, moving on from there. Parker Chisora.
Yeah.
Which is gathering a little bit of pace this week with some late night FaceTimes, etc. I believe obviously they spoke to each other yesterday via FaceTime. Can you just talk to me about, obviously you've not really said too much about it. You've just said that you'd like that fight to happen at some point and being involved in it. But what is the situation? Because May the 1st is being touted as the date that's going to take place. Can you shed any more light on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we're planning a very big show for either April 24th or May the 1st. May the 1st is actually the date now. That was going to be a big card headlined by Josh Warrington, probably against Kanzu. Obviously, we know now that's not possible. So Parker Chisora is a great replacement for that, if you like. And it's a fight that we've wanted to make for a long time. It's a fight that I love because, and after Parker's performance, I think it's a 50-50 fight. You know, Joseph Parker, good win the other night. You can make the excuses about the inactivity and Junior Fire didn't really want to engage, etc. But he didn't look like someone that you would have as a front runner favourite to beat Derek Chisora. So I'd like to make that fight. We're talking to David Higgins. We're talking to David Hay. We haven't got much time because David Higgins has made it clear that if he makes that fight, he wants Joseph to have the right preparation and the right camp. And obviously with him splitting with Kevin Barry as well, he'll have a new trainer go. Always surprised when, you know, two guys have such a strong, and those guys were like father and son, you know, and it's very difficult in that position. I believe that Kevin obviously lives in Las Vegas. Joseph lives in New Zealand. He likes to be in New Zealand now. He wants to be his camps there. And it's, and yeah, I guess it was a surprise, to be honest with you. But, you know, I think Joseph maybe want to change a few things. And, you know, it's a short career, isn't it? You can't just keep making decisions that might affect your performance because of your relationship with someone when you've got to make the most of it. So Joseph's made that move. It was all very amicable, as I understand. And if he fights Chisora on May the 1st, there'll be a new trainer.
So your proposed card, this pay-per-view extravaganza, which was meant to have been in April, is now obviously May the 1st. Who else is going to be on that card? Can you?
I don't want to give too much away, but I think there's 3 other World Championship fights. There's 2 big British names as well. I mean, it's a special card that we put together, but there's quite a lot to do on it and we're running out of time. So I want to get it finalised this weekend before I go back to Texas next week for Chocolatito at Strada. And if we can pull off what I've got in front of me on the pad, which is my notes, then it will be a really special night.
I've heard rumours of a very interesting female fight on that card, but I don't want to say it in case it's true. And obviously,
yeah, that's in the works.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
What? No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah?
No, I was thinking about another fight, sorry.
No, but this fight. Yeah? The surname begins with this letter.
Right.
Versus
Taylor Jonas. No, I was actually talking about another fight, but that is a fight that we're looking at. I'm not sure if we'll get that over the line, but yeah, there should be an announcement soon.
Okay. So can you just run for me your April schedule at the minute, including abroad? Okay,
well, let's start where we are now, right? So next weekend in Texas, we have Chocolatito against Estrada, the rematch. We have Brackhouse against McCaskill for the undisputed in a rematch. We have Kai Gucci against Vera in a Ring Magazine WBA World Championship fight. We have Raymond Ford. We have Ammo Williams. We have Ofer Jones. We have then go back to London, March 20th for Lawrence Okoli, challenging Glowacki for the WBO world title with Anthony Fowler, with Chris Billum Smith, with Eddie Scottney. Might be missing out some people on here. Joe Cordina back in action as well. Then we go March 27, which was supposed to be on a Friday night. It was supposed to be Spain. Sorry, March 26 was supposed to be Spain. But we've delayed that because of travel restrictions. March 27, Povetkin against Whyte, obviously. And then April the 3rd, we'll be announcing a huge show in Uzbekistan this week. And then April 10, Ben against Vargas. And then April 17, try and do Liam Williams against Demetrius Andrade, which we just finalised.
17th, either way.
April 17 is the date we're working on for that card, yeah. Okay. And then you got April 24, which is nothing at the moment because it was going to be, but then May the 1st will be that big pay-per-view card. Then we've got Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders on May the 8th. And then May the 15th could be Devin Haney, potentially against Jorge Linares. Also would be doing a UK show that night with Joshua Buatsi headlining on May the 15th. Then
Joshua Buatsi is not going on May the 1st then, he's going 15th?
No, May 15th, yeah.
Okay. So just coming back to Rumble on the Rocks.
Yes,
Rocks.
Rumble on the Rock.
Rumble on the Rock. Everything going okay for that? Have you come across any issues that are
it's very difficult. Very difficult. I mean, we're all fine, but it's a massive job, but we're committed to it. Like I said, we'll be flying. Everyone from the UK will be meeting in the hotel
on what day?
I believe the Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll go in there for testing. You'll isolate in the hotel. Everybody that passes the test on Wednesday morning will then go to the airport. We will charter a plane exclusively for the teams out to Gibraltar. You will arrive in the bubble in Gibraltar. You will test in the bubble there. You will stay in the bubble, and then you will move forward and then fight. And it's going to be wild. I got to say, like.
Have you got a venue?
Yes. Yeah. Everything. Last week, broadcasters, a production team went out there, did a recce of the venue, and everything is good. Again, it's hard. It's difficult. I mean, we're making things so difficult for ourselves, but really, this is one, to do things differently and to create a special event, but two, also for the preparation of Dillian Whyte, because he's stuck in Portugal, which is a red list country. So, unless he moves his camp around, it's not easy. So this was the best option for him. We're fully behind that. We know he needs to win this fight. And, the hard work is well underway.
What is the quarantine situation from Gibraltar then?
So on the way back?
Yes.
So you will have to isolate under a 2 and 8 day test or a 5 day test and release.
So there's a possibility.
So standard.
Okay.
So when you come back,
yeah,
you will have to test after 2 and 8 days, but you can have a test and release after 5 days.
Okay. Did you see Dillian Whyte giving it to Andy Ruiz today on Instagram?
We just said sharp Andy, didn't he?
Yeah, so say giving it to him, yeah, just...
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Dillian Whyte. I don't know why he got involved.
I know, but I'm looking forward to seeing Andy Ruiz back. He looks good.
Yeah. Some people are saying, like, with the angles of what he's... Cause
I do that a lot.
Where? High angle?
Yeah. Look, hi, guys. How you doing? As you can see, I'm looking nice and slim down here. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm a fat fucker. So I definitely think Andy Ruiz has lost a lot of weight, but I do not believe that Andy Ruiz is as slim as some of the images make him look, especially the image that's floating around with him with AJ's body. That's definitely not him.
That's quite hilarious. You mentioned Devin Haney and Jorge Linares. Is that pretty much done? Yes?
Yeah, I mean, look, it took a little bit of a U-turn because Lomachenko popped up and Bill Haney phoned me and said, make the Lomachenko fight. So I reached out I actually spoke to Egis Klimas, not to make him an offer or anything like that, but just to say, I think we'll make an offer to Top Rank. So I'm happy to do that fight. I think it's a fantastic fight, and Devin's more than happy to fight Lomachenko. So if we can agree terms, that would probably be a preferred fight to Linares. But if we can't, Linares is pretty much agreed and ready to go. I do think it will be.
You think it will be what? You think it will be Linares?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Bob's interview last night where he said we wouldn't do that fight on DAZN. So we'll wait till Devin Haney's a free agent. So, okay. Waiting a long time.
Thoughts on Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, Eddie?
It's quite funny. I saw some bloke put out some like viewing figures from the
Really nice Derek.
What?
The Twitter account's called Really Nice Derek.
I know. They were all wrong, and the Tommy Fury one was actually the real audience was less than 10% what it was. But I like Tommy Fury against Jake Paul. I don't mind what Jake Paul is putting the work in, right? And I've seen many pro fighters that are worse than Jake Paul.
He's calling out Canelo.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was the greatest. They actually sent a couple of dweebs in the ring. Did you see it? Oh, it's so funny. Let me tell you how they got in, all right? They dressed up. They got T-shirts and hats, DAZN hats, printed, all right? They got DAZN logos made for their microphones on their cameras, right? And they basically somehow illegally found some names, got an access. So I didn't know what was happening. I was in the ring and Canelo goes, "Get the fuck out." I mean, I've never seen three geezers shit themselves so quickly in their life. You see? Oh. And
was there three? I thought it was two.
No, I'll tell you the story. So there was three of them, right? And they were like lifting their T-shirts up and they had a picture of Jake Paul on or something like that. So security spotted them. They took them backstage, and I went back and I saw them because the police wanted to arrest them and all this sort of stuff, and they didn't get arrested. They got let go. But I saw them, right? So I went out on the pitch and they're sitting there like this, like absolutely petrified. And there was two geezers who were about, I don't know, 20, 21. Normal guy, like who you'd expect, like, Transformer Pajamas Brigade. And then there was this other bloke, and he was about 50, right? So they're getting a dressing down. And I said to this bloke on the end, I went, "Mate, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, what?" I said, "I understand these kids. Like, it's quite a big thing, isn't it? If you're part of that world, and you haven't got much of a sort of social, ability. If you got in the ring and showed a picture of Jake Paul, wow, like to all that clique, you're like, that's an amazing thing to do." So these are just young kids. They're opportunists. They've done something that they shouldn't have, but whatever. But this guy, he's like 50. I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh," I said, "Look, these kids." I said, "What?" I felt really bad for him because he was like, they're all virtually crying. And I said, "What do you do for a living?" He went, "I'm a school teacher." I said, "For fuck's sake." What? So.
What was the relationship then between the older guy and the two younger?
I have no idea. I just couldn't make the whole thing. Like, the other two kids were just kids, they were just kids. And but this guy was like a 50-year-old. It was all weird.
He was a legend in school though. When he went
but that's what I said. Like, but I said to him, I said, "You must have known." I think they were petrified they were going to get arrested or something. I said, "Guys, you must have known that if it went wrong, which it has, like, it weren't going to be the best scenario." But yeah, in the end, but it is what it is. You got to tighten up security, but at the same time, sometimes,
If we ever wanted confirmation that Canelo can speak English, we definitely got it after.
Canelo's English is amazing.
He's been talking in interviews, to be fair.
I know. No, it's funny because I posted a picture of me and him last night, and like people just, "Oh mate, get out of his arse." Oh mate. But no, it's good. It was a great event, to be honest with you. I mean, it was the best ring walk I've ever seen. I know the main event fight weren't the greatest fight of all time, but the production, it was just incredible. My new pal J Balvin, so.
You're mates with him now, is he?
Yeah, we're big mates, yeah.
Obviously.
Just, obviously with his new song, Maji. Big fan. Cool guy.
Eddie, can we talk about welterweights, please?
Of course we can. One sec.
Go.
I'm back. Yes, we can talk about welterweights.
A little run through the welterweights. Let's start with obviously Conor Benn's got his fight coming up against Samuel Vargas on the 10th of April. Josh Kelly, obviously suggestions that he may move up to 154. Have you spoke to Kelly about what he's going to do next?
I spoke to Adam Booth and Josh, but mainly to Adam Booth to say, we'll have a meeting in the next couple of weeks. I think they're going to look at the weight. For me, it's difficult because I'm not there with him every day in the gym, but I would like to see him move up to 154. I think he's just too big for welterweight, and I think there's so many great domestic fights out there as well at 154. You've got Fowler, you've got Fitzgerald, you've got Cheeseman, you've got Metcalf. Obviously, those guys are fighting. You've got Conway, you've got Eggington. So I would like to see him move up and move straight into one of those fights. I don't think he wants to be, come back with a couple of easy wins. I think he wants to move into big fights. And obviously, Adam knows what's best for him, and that could include a move to 154.
I saw Josh Kelly delivered some burgers.
I saw that. Yeah, he's got a great little business there. It's really good.
Yeah, check it out.
Really good. How was it? Nice?
Lovely. I'm surprised you ain't.
I'm going to pop down because it's in Chelmsford.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to go down there.
Burgers, wings and ribs. Florian Marco.
Yes.
What you got for him, Ed?
He's having a hand operation, and then I think he'll be back in sort of September time with crowds, which will be interesting because he's got mad support. I spoke to Sam. I think Florian's doing fantastically well. Great performance last time out. People talk about the Conor Benn fight. I think, yes, that is a fight that could make sense. I want to see Florian Marco step up again and get another big win, but there's no reason why. I know Conor Benn's looking at moving up the world rankings. So in his mind, the Florian Marco fight isn't really on the agenda because he's fighting Samuel Vargas, then he wants to fight a top 15 guy, wants to fight David Avanesian. But sooner or later, with another win or two from Florian Marco, that becomes a fight that fills the O2.
He has no interest in the fight, though, is it, at the moment?
I don't think he has no interest in that fight. I think he has no interest in fighting someone that's not, all the names Conor Benn comes out with are guys that have either been in the top 15 or have been in major fights against major competition. So Conor's not afraid to fight anyone, but he's just not saying, well, these are the guys that I want to fight. Give me a little, and he wants to fight David Avanesian. That's a very, very tough fight. But for me as a promoter, I think if Florian Marco keeps going the way he's going and puts another impressive performance in against a good name, then probably in 2022, if the situation, maybe they're both ranked in the top 15 in the world, that is a big fight. But it's just not on the agenda in September, for example.
Okay, moving on from there, any news on the return of Scott Fitzgerald?
Yes, I'll tell you now, actually. Scott's going to box on April the 10th on our card. The madman is back. Yeah, he's been training really, really hard. He will be on the card with Conor Benn and Savannah Marshall and Shannon Courtney and Kash Farouk and others. And can't wait to see him back. Good to see him back, get a win, maybe get out again in the summer and then make that Fowler rematch. It's what we want to do.
Any changes to that card as such yet?
April 10, no. No, and March 20, all good. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Do you know when you hear Conor Benn kind of talking about wanting to fight like Amir Khan and Kell Brook? We spoke about this before about what was kind of really in it for Kell and Amir to fight Conor. I mean, it's not really like a no-win.
It's just money. It's just money.
Yeah,
it's just money. So I love Conor Benn against Amir Khan and Conor Benn against Kell Brook. I think they're world-class fighters, obviously coming towards the back ends of their career, but that's a big fight. But the only way you're going to make that fight, you're quite right, because Amir Khan and Kell Brook will go, why would I fight Conor Benn? And the only solution is money. Because Amir and Kell, they're not in the sport anymore. Let's just say it how it is. To go through the rankings and win world titles, they've done that. They want money. Simple, isn't it? I mean, that's the reality of the situation. There's no point pretending that they want to make a charge and become world champion again. They're saying, if the money is right, I will fight again. That's it. And I believe that you could get Conor Benn into a position where that becomes a big pay-per-view fight. And if it does, I think then they'd consider it.
Liam Smith?
Liam Smith's going to be fighting in Russia, just finalising the contract for that. It's a good fight for him. And then once he comes through that, we'd like him to fight Jesse Vargas.
I know it's not your fight, but you'd appreciate the fight between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, really good fight. Promoted Ramirez is not his last fight, the fight before that. Good fighter. I think Josh Taylor's the favourite in that fight, and I expect him to win.
Have you had any conversations with Calla about Eubank and it was on about Eubank Brook?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to try and get Eubank on the May the 1st card.
Oh, really?
With Chisora and Parker and everybody else, yeah. So we're talking about that. He hasn't boxed for quite a long time, but I think there's some big fights out there for him once he gets his return out of the way.
Martin Bakole?
Martin Bakole was going to fight Hrgovic, but obviously now Hrgovic is fighting Hunter, so just in the works for another fight for him.
Are you're involved in that fight?
Hrgovic Hunter?
Yes.
Yeah, we promote Hrgovic.
Yeah, so what's that going to wind on?
What's it going to what?
What's it going to wind on?
Wind on? What's it going to wind on? Yeah. What is it, a fucking watch?
No, yeah, basically. What's it going to wind on?
Do you mean what show will that appear on?
Yeah, what show is it going to wound up on?
It's we're in negotiations. We've got about 2 weeks left of negotiation before purse physical. So we're going to try and do a deal with Hunter and expect to see that fight in May.
Could it land on May the 1st?
No, I don't think so. But I think it could be in the US, that fight.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything so far for this week. You're off to, where are you going again?
Texas.
Texas.
Massive card next week. Huge card. I think, honestly, one of the best cards I've ever put on. World Championship triple header, fight of the year contender, £2 per pound Grace, undisputed women's welterweight championship. One of the top fighters coming out of Japan. Great test for our young fighters as well. Banging card in Texas. Okay. And then we'll be back for a Coley to win the world title.
Yeah, that's March the 20th. Eddie, anything for Hughie Fury while I'm at it as well?
Hughie Fury's going to be boxing probably in May as well. A couple of rumbles about Hughie Fury, David Price. I know that David could be looking to fight again. So that's a good fight for him. But also I want to see Hughie Fury step up now into some big fights. I want to see him try and get in a position to fight for the world title.
Sorry, Chantel Cameron's off that card. Did you mention that earlier? Yeah.
Yes, so she's going to get a new date, which will probably be end of April, early May. Okay. May even do that fight in America, to be honest with you. Because of the slot.
Sorry, Eddie, have you got a venue for April the 10th yet?
No, not yet. It'll be in London.
Could it still
be no, it won't be at Wembley, but the bubble will be at Wembley.
Okay. March the 20th is Wembley, yeah?
Correct.
April the 10th is to be decided.
Yeah.
It's got to be near there somewhere if you're doing a bubble.
It will be, yeah. It's good point, mate. Well done. Great thinking. So, what I thought I'd do is I'd do the bubble at Wembley and I'd do the show in Newcastle.
Prick. Clarissa Shields in action, before I forget.
Live on pay-per-view tonight.
What's that?
She's live on pay-per-view.
She is. Yeah, are we going to get to see her and Savannah Marshall?
Yeah, I've made 2 offers now to Mark Taffet and Dimitri Salita, who are good guys. I think they want to just get tonight out of the way, and that's Savannah Marshall against Clarissa Shields is a must-make fight for probably like September time. Savannah's going to box on April the 10th, and then I want to go straight into the Clarissa Shields fight. You can't wait for fights like that. That's ready. Once Savannah gets one defence under her belt as well, she's good to go. And I think that's a really big fight to make for later in the year.
Okay. Eddie, what are you going to do with Zhang?
Zhang was in a cracking fight. I mean, I don't know. We've got to get some tests done on him because, he looked fantastic for 3 or 4 rounds. I mean, he had Forrest over in every round. Jerry Forrest can fight, by the way, but then he just completely run out of gas. Completely. So I think they've got to go away and, he actually was in hospital till yesterday. He was dehydrated. and they wanted to run some tests on him. He's been released from hospital. All his scans and everything were clear from after the fight anyway, but it was more the dehydration. But this is a guy that was doing 12, 15 round sparring in the gym, no problem. So was it the nerves? Was it, something else? Does he have an issue? So they're going to run the test, but Zhang will be back. Zhang's a good fighter. He'll be in some interesting fights, some fun fights.
One final one before I let you go, because I know you want to go. Did you see Frank Warren's comments about yourself, Sky and the Zone, etc.?
Saying what?
About you leaving, well, possibly leaving Sky to go to the Zone.
I haven't seen his comments. No, I mean, it's common knowledge that our contract is up later on this year. Obviously, we've had these conversations with you. We've built a fantastic business. We feel like we are extremely valuable in the UK market. Sky have been a long-term partner. We're very happy with them. We built the sport with them, and we both share that success. We know that DAZN have a fantastic global product right now and a huge plan and a very aggressive plan for boxing, as well as a number of other platforms that have approached us regarding the UK. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that we're working on at the moment, and I guess we'll share the news with you when the moment is right.
Okay. Is that in the near future, or is that further?
Yeah, it will be, because I mean, it's going to be in the next couple of months, because that's the timescale we're working to.
Okay, Edward. Thank you very much for your time.
No worries, mate. When are we going to see you again? You must be dying to get out of the house. Come on, let's be honest. Look, I know you're in love with your daughter, and it's lovely, and you and the missus, but it's time, mate. It's time, isn't it?
Gibraltar, I'll be there.
Gibraltar, okay, good. All right, mate.
Right, Eddie, thank you very much for talking to Eiffel TV, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Go on, mate.